What happens is when you open a pressure cooker and it's still under pressure, the water that's inside the pressure cooker is hotter than the temperature at which water would normally boil. As soon as you open that lid or the lid blows off, the pressure equalizes, the water turns to steam and blows everything out.
When a new wave of pressure cookers came to the market a few years ago, they were supposed to be safe. But since then, a number of people have come forward and say they've gotten hurt in their own homes. We're going to talk to attorney George McLaughlin about that on today's Ask the Lawyer. George, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So you have brought multiple lawsuits regarding defective pressure cookers. Can you explain a little bit about what these suits allege?
Well, the main problem is that either by design or manufacturing defect, or sometimes possibly by the consumer, the person using it making a mistake, the lid opens under pressure. Many of my clients have told me they absolutely let the pressure out, but yet when they go to open it, it explodes and all the contents come spewing out, scalding hot, causing pretty serious second-degree burns.
Yeah, just the thought of that is pretty horrific. Can you explain some of the injuries that you've seen from these types of accidents?
Well, they're all second-degree, first-degree, and second-degree burns. A few have had some third-degree burns. But what happens is when you open a pressure cooker and it's still under pressure, the water that's inside the pressure cooker is hotter than the temperature at which water would normally boil. As soon as you open that lid or the lid blows off, the pressure equalizes, the water turns to steam and blows everything out. So if you have, let's say, a stew you're cooking and you've got beef and carrots and potatoes and a thick broth, all of that is heated above the temperature at which water boils, hotter than 212 degrees Fahrenheit, 100 degrees Celsius. And that stuff spews onto you, sticks to your clothes, and causes second-degree burns wherever it hits. Most of my clients have had injuries on their lower face, neck, torso, hands and arms. Some of them it rolls off the counter onto the floor, and they've had pretty serious burns to their feet and legs also.
So is it just one company that sells these defective pressure cookers?
No, there's several companies. Most of these pressure cookers, and we're talking mostly about electric pressure cookers that are self-contained units, and I have one or two I can show you, but they're also stovetop pressure cookers, which can have this problem. They're made by a whole lot of different manufacturers, but there's a handful of companies in China that are the actual producer of the product. So if you get a pressure cooker, say one that says it's an Instant Pot, or one that says it's a Sunbeam crock pot, Sunbeam and Instant Pot themselves really don't make those in a factory they own. They contract with manufacturers in China to make these products, and then they put their name on them. There are, at my last count, over 100 different brand names of pressure cookers, electric pressure cookers, that have been sold in this country in the last decade or so.
That's pretty unsettling to think about. In addition to seeking medical care, what should somebody do if they're hurt by a pressure cooker?
Well, if you were hurt because the lid blew off and the thing was under pressure, or you opened it and all the contents came out under pressure and injured you, obviously, the first thing you need to do is get treatment. What I would like my clients to have done is have somebody take a picture of the mess, because usually this stuff just blows all over the kitchen. I've had some of my clients that have taken pictures, and we see the food that was in the container in the pressure cooker. It's on the walls, it's on the ceiling, it's all over the place. It's nice to have a photograph of that to prove, yeah, I didn't spill this thing. This blew out all over the place. The other thing you need to do is you need to save the product. Don't ever use it again. I'd prefer they didn't even clean it, but most people, they clean up the mess. But certainly don't use it. Save everything. If you have any of the paperwork, the box, whatever, save it all and contact a lawyer. Don't call the company and say, gee, this happened to me. Can I send this back to you? Because they want to get these back. They may make you some lowball offer to try to get rid of you. But I would recommend you contact an attorney, save all of the things that you received when you bought the product, if you still have that, and file a lawsuit to collect what you're entitled to, because these companies will not pay you for what you went through if you just want to try to settle your case on your own.
So let's talk about recalls. Have there been any official recalls of these pressure cookers?
Yes, there have. I'm aware of two, in large part because I have clients who had these products and were injured by them. The first recall I'm aware of is Sunbeam, well-known appliance manufacturer around for many, many years. They own the crock-pot brand. We've all heard of crock-pots. You put a pot on the stove, you cook for several hours, and you end up with something, a stew or whatever. But there's a brand called crock-pot, and the crock-pot brand is owned by Sunbeam. And there is a crock-pot pressure cooker, electric pressure cooker. I happen to have one sitting right here. This product was recalled because of a defect with the lid. And Sunbeam issued a recall in November of 2020 for a certain date range of products made before and after a certain date, saying if you have this product, the lid could come off and cause injury. So Sunbeam issued a recall for that. The other product I'm aware of that has a recall just recently happened to have one of those. Again, because I have clients that had this product. This is the Bella electric pressure cooker made by a company called Sensio. The Bella Sensio pressure cookers were recalled just last August, this past August 2023, again, for the risk that the product could open under pressure, either mistakenly or you can actually put the lid on some of these products incorrectly and it will still pressurize. I know that happens with the Sunbeam because I did it in a laboratory. But the Sunbeam Crockpot and the Bella, the issue is the lids can be opened while the contents are under pressure and people can be injured. Bella Sensio didn't just recall a certain model with a certain date range. They recalled all of their products for this risk hazard. The problem is not everybody gets word of a recall. If you don't happen to hear about it in the news, some of these companies do have registration and then they can notify you. But if you didn't register your product, the company doesn't know you have this product. If you don't see it on the news, read about it somewhere, you don't know you've got a recalled product. There are thousands and thousands of these out there that the people probably don't know they've got a dangerous product. There were over 800,000 Bella Sensio pressure cookers recalled. There were almost 1 million Sunbeam crockpots recalled. I suspect a large percentage of those products are still out there being used, and the people don't know they have a product that could potentially cause really serious injury.
So how can people who have pressure cookers determine if their pressure cooker is safe?
Tough question. The only way to really know is to test it. And the only way to test it is in a laboratory, because if you test it on your own, if you try to open it under pressure and it opens, you're going to get hit with scalding material and coming out of the pot. I would suggest if you have any question about whether you've got a product that is dangerous or not, contact an attorney and say, hey, this is what I have. Like, for example, if you've got a Sunbeam crockpot, I can have the person take a photograph of the date code, which is on the label of the product or on the bottom of the product. That gives me the model, the date it was made, and I can say yes or no, you have a product that was in the recalled time frame. But there's so many different products out there. Most of the cases I have had have been involving the Instant Pot made by yet a different company that is not a recalled product. And yet those of us who have had those cases, we contend that the Instant Pot is a dangerous product. In fact, I can demonstrate with products I've got sitting here in my office, in my evidence cabinet, that you can open an Instant Pot under pressure when it just shouldn't open. there's an underwriter's laboratory standard. Underwriters Laboratories makes standards for all sorts of different consumer products. There's a specific standard for pressure cookers, UL Standard 136. It says you must not be able to open the lid of a pressure cooker when the contents are under pressure by applying anything less than 100 pounds of rotational force. And that means that if you're rotating the lid, you're lifting 100 pounds off the ground, essentially. That's a lot of force. These things have been opened in laboratories, and I've done it myself with really just flick of the finger, very little force.
So, George, what are the eligibility requirements to file a lawsuit or to become part of a class action lawsuit that's already in progress?
Well, if you've been injured by one of these products, you shouldn't and don't want to be a part of a class action. The class action is for, let's say, a group of people get together and they want to get their money back because they now know they've got a defective product, or they want to get a new lid. You file a class action for that. These are not class action cases. These are individual injury cases. If you want to, bring a claim, you need to do it within the time frame allowed by your state law. It varies from as short as 1 year. In some states like Kentucky and Tennessee, you've got 1 year from the date you were injured to bring your claim. Many states have 2-year statute of limitations. I'd probably say most states do. Some are 3, some are 4. I think there's even one state out there that has a 6-year statute of limitations, but you don't want to wait that long. If you've been injured, contact an attorney right away. Don't wait around deciding what you want to do. Any attorney that does this kind of work like me, we're happy to talk to people at no charge, spend some time on the phone with them or on a Zoom meeting or even in our office talking about whether or not they have a claim. And we don't charge anything for that.
All right. Thank you so much, George. It's nice to see you.
Thank you. Thanks for your interest in this.
And that's going to do it for this episode of Ask the Lawyer. My guest has been George McLaughlin. If you'd like to ask him about your situation, call the number on your screen. Thanks for watching. I'm Molly Hendrickson for Ask the Lawyers.